Good afternoon, class. We want to continue with our science lesson, and we shall continue on plants and animal and fungal cells. In our earlier lesson, we had seen an example of what an animal cell is. We had seen also an example of what plant cell is. We had seen on a lighter touch, we had drawn what an animal cell is and what a plant cell is, what is present within a plant cell and what is present within an animal cell. But we said there are other differences that we can, and similarities that we can study. We are going to write some of these similarities and differences that are found within the animal cell and fungal cell. So we can have the similarities. Just a word, similarities. So we can have the similarities. We shall enumerate them here. And we can have such a table, and then we have both plants and animal cells, both plants and animal cells. So we shall see what is similar, what is both in plant cells and animal cells. Then we shall see the differences, this other side, similarities, differences. And the differences, we shall see plant cells, animal cells. Now, we have that rough table where we can have similarities this other end. For instance, we can have with the similarity one, they have cell membrane. So both plants and animals have cell membrane. That is similarity number one. Similarity number two, both have cytoplasm. They have cytoplasm. That is similarity number two. Number three, another similarity, both cells, whether it's a plant cell or an animal cell, they have nucleus. That's similarity number three. Similarity number four, we can say both have mitochondria. Both have mitochondria. They have mitochondria, both have mitochondria. Then we can go to similarity number five, both have ribosomes. So we have tried to list some of the similarities. What about the differences? The plants have cell wall. They have cell walls, and then they don't have no cell wall, yes. Have cell wall, no cell wall. They have vacuole, the vacuoles, no vacuoles. They have chloroplast, chloroplasts, no chloroplasts. Another differences, the last one. They have cell wall. Yes, we can enumerate these major three differences that plants have this and the animals they miss this. So that is what I felt is important. We finish on the differences that is there. But today we have looked on the animal cell, plant cell. What about fungal cells? Let us study something on fungal cells. Background information of fungi. What are fungi? Fungi are widespread around the world, and they include wide range of organisms from unicellular, and example of unicellular, this is an organism that has a single cell. A single cell organism is called unicellular. So they have a wide range. Fungi are of wide range from unicellular organism like the yeast. Example of fungi, we have yeast, from yeast to large mushrooms like toadstools, to mushrooms. Now, with the mushrooms are bigger, you can see them with your naked eye like toadstools, to large like toadstools. Like plants, we are told the fungi have a cell wall. Like plants, the fungi cell, they have a cell wall. It is made up of not cellulose, but it's made up of chitin. So they have a cell wall, and like plants, they have a cell wall. Animals don't have a cell wall, but the fungi cells, they have a cell wall. But the difference between the cell wall of a fungi and the cell wall of a plant, the cell wall of a fungi is made up of a substance called chitin, while a cell wall of a plant is made up of a substance called cellulose. Yes. So unlike plants which have a cell wall made up of a cellulose, like animals now, fungi are heterotrophy. I will explain that. They, like animals, fungi are heterotrophic. That term, heterotrophic. When we say fungi are like animals, they are heterotrophic, meaning they depend on food that is gotten from external. They depend on external food. But when we go to most plants, they are autotrophic. Plants are autotrophic because they manufacture their own food. Fungi, we are saying a similarity of fungi with animals is they depend on external food. But similarity with the plants, we have said they have a cell wall. The difference is their cell wall is not made up of cellulose, but it is made up of a substance called chitin. So we are seeing some similarity that is there with the fungi cells, with animal cells, and the similarity that is there between fungi cells and plant cells, and the difference that can exist in between. So we are saying like animals, fungi are heterotrophic, and they cannot make their own food. However, unlike animals, they do not eat their food. But they release an enzyme. That enzyme is a chemical that is largely responsible for breaking down large and complex particles into smaller particles that can be taken as food. So what the fungi do, they normally secrete a particular enzyme that is able to break down complex, large particles that are within them. They can also absorb small particles into their cells. We are also told fungi, we have some fungi that are parasitic fungi. So parasitic fungi, they live on other living organisms and can cause diseases. We are saying parasitic fungi, fungi that depend on other organisms. They can live on other organisms, yes, and when they live on other organisms, some of these parasitic fungi, they can cause diseases like tinea or ringworm. We have diseases like tinea or called ringworm. So they can cause diseases like tinea or ringworm. It is a skin disease. It's a skin disease in human beings caused by fungal infections. So we are seeing what these fungi can cause. They can cause diseases. A disease like ringworm. It is a disease that it affects human beings. Apart from these parasitic fungi, we also have saprophytic fungi. We also have saprophytic fungi. And when we are talking about saprophytic fungi, they live on dead plants and animals, remains, and they are important decomposers in the food web. We are saying saprophytic fungi, these kind of fungi, they live on dead animals and plants, remains, and they are important decomposers in the food web. If we are talking about food web, then they are important because the dead animals need to decompose, and the saprophytic fungi are there to ensure that they create some enzymes, and these enzymes, they break down these dead animals so that they decompose fast. When they decompose fast, they become nutrients to the soil, and the plants can as well use these nutrients when they are available in the soil. So we are seeing saprophytic fungi are important. They're important as far as decomposing is concerned. They are able to decompose the dead animals and the dead plants. That is okay. Then we also have fungi that we call multicellular fungi. Now, multicellular fungi, they are not made up of a single cell. They are made up of a number of many cells. Multicellular fungi. Yes, we have multicellular fungi, such as the mushrooms. Yes, such as the mushrooms. They consist of thin threads called hyphae. They consist of thin threads called hyphae. So these multicellular fungi, the mushrooms, they consist of thin threads called hyphae. These hyphae are some of the fungi that cross walls called septa. Singular, we normally call it septum, but septa is in plural. Singular, we call it septum. Yes, singular, we call it septum. And what we are saying about septum, we are saying these multicellular fungi called the mushrooms, they consist of thin threads called hyphae. The hyphae are some of the fungi. They have cross walls called septa. They divide the threads into cells. While they divide the threads into cells, other fungi do not have septa. They have cytoplasm that is continuous with the mass and hundreds of nuclei. We have the nuclei within them. Maybe for us to explain how this fungal hyphae looks like, we shall have a diagrams to show how this fungi hyphae looks like. This structure will assist us to know how fungal hyphae looks like. Now, these are what we're calling the nuclei. Those are the nuclei, and then we have the cell wall. In this hyphae, the cell wall is here. Then from the cell wall, we have the septum. The septum is that one. In pro, we have the septum. Then we have the pore. That is the pore. That is an example of a fungal hyphae. We had said from multicellular fungi, we have mushrooms that consist of thin threads called hyphae. That is the hyphae, the threads we're talking about. These hyphae, some of them, some fungi have cross walls called septa or septum and divide the threads into cells, which other fungi do not have. Septa, others have cytoplasm that is continuous with hundreds of the nuclei. Others are just continuous. That's an example. We can have the structure of an animal fungi and plant cell. Structure of an animal cell, animal fungi, that is fungal, yes, fungal, it's one, and plant cell. We want to have a cell comparing the three, a cell of animal, a fungal, and plant cell, and we can see the differences. We can start with animal cell. A simple animal cell with different shapes, that is the nucleus. Those who can remember. In between we have the cytoplasm. That is an animal cell. We can go to fungi. The fungal cell. We need to remember with the fungal cell, it has the cell wall. It almost resembles the plant cell. It has the cell wall. So in between here, we have there's fungal cell, then plant cell. Nucleus. Chloroplasts. Cytoplasm. Now we have drawn in a board, we have drawn the structure of an animal cell. We have also drawn a structure of a fungal cell, and there's a structure of a plant cell. you can compare and see the similarities and differences as they occur. So we can go to the structures within the cells and functions of cell parts. We want to know, we have known the cells and their parts, but we want to see what they do and so forth. So we are going to have a table. And within the table, we are going to have one part of the table will show the particular part. For instance, we shall deal with the membrane. What does it do? Where is it and what it does? Then we can go to cytoplasm. Where is it and what it does? Then we can go to nucleus. Where is it and what it does? Is it a plant cell? Is it in a plant cell or is it in an animal cell? And then we shall go to vacuole. Where is it and what it does? Is it in a plant cell or animal cell? Then we shall go to cell wall. What is it and what it does? Is it a plant cell or an animal cell? Then we shall finish with the chloroplast. What is it and what it does? Is it found within a plant cell or an animal cell? So we can have this simple structure that will be showing the functions of cell parts. If we check closely, we have said functions of cell part, we want to have a table indicating functional cell parts. But we shall show structure within the cell parts. We are going to see the structure within the cell parts, then functions of those cell parts. These are parts that are present within the cells. What are their functions? We shall have that part, particular part, what part is, on what and what it does, and finally, is it a plant cell or an animal cell or an animal cell alone? We shall have these specifications. It is important. So we can have a table where we are indicating part, the part and what part does, what part is, then or what it does, or what it does, then plant cell and or animal cell. And or animal cell. Now on this table, for instance, we shall start with one cell membrane. Cell membrane is a structure that is within the cell. We want to know what part it is, what part is it in a cell, and what does it do or what it does. So we are seeing this is an outer lining of a cell. So cell membrane, it is an outer lining of a cell. It separates the cell from the environment. It is an outer lining. So we can say it is the outer cover of a cell. It protects the cell from the environment. That is what we can say it is. And it prevents, it can allow some material to enter, others to leave. It is semi-permeable. It can also refuse other materials to enter the cell. That is the cell membrane. Then we want to know, is it a plant? Is it present within plant cell? Is it present within animal cell, or it is present in both? So we can see it is plant cell, it is within plant cell and animal cell. So we are saying cell membrane is available in both plants and animal cell. This structure is present among them. Then we can go to our second structure, and our second structure is called cytoplasm. Now, what part is it? What part is it? So what part is it? Or what it does? We want to know what part in a cell and what it does. So when we're talking about cytoplasm, what cytoplasm is made up of jelly-like fluid. We are saying it is made up of jelly-like fluid. And we say those fluids are ions and other molecules, That's what we had said, fluid, called cytosol. Those who can remember, it's made up of jelly-like fluid called cytosol and other molecules. Then we are asking ourselves, cytoplasm, is it present within plant cell and animal cell, or plant cell alone, or animal cell alone? We are saying cytoplasm are present in both plant and animal cell. So we are saying cytoplasm is made up of jelly-like fluid and so forth, and it's present within the plant and animal cell. So it is present in both. Then we can go to that structure, and that structure is called the nucleus. What part is it? The nucleus. Then we are told that the nucleus, they serve as the command center of a cell. They serve as the command center. When we say they serve as the command center, they give instructions. They give instructions to other structures within the cell and the other parts, either for that cell to grow, to divide itself, to die, or to do whatever activities that is important for the life of that particular cell. So the nucleus, they serve as the command center, sending directions to all parts of the cell to divide, to grow, or even to mature. Now, is nucleus present among the plant cell and animal cell? We are saying yes. Nucleus is present in plant and in both plant and animal cell. So the nucleus is the center of activity, and we had seen that this nucleus contains DNA, deoxyribonucleic acid. DNA has strands that gives hereditary information. That is, these strands, when you go deeper, there are chromosomes that they contain the hereditary activities that will make up the entire living organisms. So nucleus are in both animal cell and plant cell. Then from the nucleus, we can advance to another structure called for vacuole. What is a vacuole? What is its function? Is it present in plant and animal cell? Now, we are told about the vacuole that these are a small sphere membrane with these are small sphere membrane. These are within the cell with the fluid. So vacuoles, and they're large. These are vacuoles. These are sphere membranes with the fluid. With the fluid, they are responsible for the shape and turgidity of the cell. For the cell to be turgid enough depends on the cell vacuole. It has space and it contains enough fluid. So we are being told about the cell vacuole it is only present among plant cell. The cell vacuole is only present among the plant cell. So it is only present among the plants, not among the animals. Then animal cells. Then we can go to the fifth structure. It's called the cell wall. What about the cell wall? It is an outer, tougher layer. It is an outer, tough layer. We have other outer layers that are not tough, like the one we'd seen, the cell membrane. So if we have the cell membrane, the cell wall is outermost, outer layer, and it is tough. It gives the particular cell a shape. So we are saying cell wall is an outer tough layer found outside the plant cell. Layer found outside plant cell, found outside plant cell. The fact it's giving a bearing, it's only found within plant cell, so not among animals. So it is available in the plant cells only, and it gives its shape. And we are told the cell wall is made of this one is made of cellulose. It is made up of cellulose. If it was fungal, that one will be a different issue. The cell wall that is present in fungus is made up of a substance called chitin, but this one, it's made up of a substance called cell wall. Then we can have our last organelle here. We can have chloroplast. What are the chloroplasts? We can say chloroplasts, they have chlorophyll that carry out a process, the process of photosynthesis. They have chlorophyll that carry out a process called photosynthesis. Yes, the chloroplasts have chlorophyll, which is a green coloring matter, and they are able to carry out the process called photosynthesis. That one is not present among the animal cell, therefore it is only present among the plant cell alone. Note, important information we have to note here. We have to note that another organelles, we have organs called mitochondria. Now, mitochondria can be present within the cytoplasm. They can be present within the cytoplasm. So information on the mitochondria, which earlier the people could not get more message on the mitochondria, you will have observed its presence in a light microscope that has enough length to magnify it, but you will not have known the functions of mitochondria. But with the coming up of electron microscope, they were able to tell the functions of mitochondria. Mitochondria are very small structures that are only visible under very high, powerful light microscope. Therefore, in schools, we might not have this very powerful light microscope, but when you have it, then we can be able to see. Mitochondria are only found within cytoplasm. Their functions were only discovered with the invention of electron microscope. So with the electron microscope is when they discovered that mitochondria, its major purpose is to provide energy to the activities that take place within the cell. So mitochondria is there to ensure that there is energy within the cell. So it gives a proper energy within the cell for the cell to provide its functions. Now we want to have structure and examine different animal cells, and then we shall also examine different plant cells. When we talk of plant cell, yes, but there are different plant cells, and even their shapes differ depending on their functions they perform. Even if we talk of animal cells, yes, we are saying they are similar, but they are not identical. There are different types of animal cell, and they play different roles. So we shall start with the animals cells, and then we shall look also the plant cells. We can start with animal cells. Therefore, we can see different animal cells, and their functions. Different cells have been adapted in a specific way so that they can perform their role, their functions appropriately. So you'll find that if you change these cells, then they will not perform their work properly. Now we can start, we can have, for instance, red blood cells. When we are talking of red blood cells, they are spherical. These red blood cells are spherical in nature, and they contain a lot of hemoglobin. Hemoglobin is a substance that is able to allow and to attach itself to oxygen molecule. So these circular red blood cells, they are endowed with many hemoglobin, and from their shape they can be able to carry and to absorb more and enough oxygen, so that that oxygen within the red blood cells can be transported in different parts of that living organisms. So we are saying red blood cells is an example of an animal cell, and its function and structure is different, as we shall compare with other cells. So we are saying red blood cells, they contain hemoglobin that carry out oxygen. That's the function. Red blood cell function. They contain hemoglobin. They contain hemoglobin that carry out oxygen. They carry out oxygen to different parts. We are just saying we have seen the type of animal cell. The type of animal cell here is the blood cell, and the function is the other side. It carries out, it can have the type of animal cell. Then function this other end. So we can have a table to assist us, and we can have an example number 2. We can have nerve cells. Now, nerve cells are not cylindrical, oval like the one we had said about. We'd say red blood cells is that way, and then they are cylindrical, they're oval shaped, and they're able to carry out enough, they have enough hemoglobin so that they can carry enough oxygen. But when you go to nerve cell, it is a bit different. They carry nerves impulses to different parts of the body. Their functions, they carry nerve impulses. They carry nerve impulses to different parts of the body. they can carry even electric shocks to different parts of the body. That's what the nerve does. How does a structure of a nerve look like? It is unlike the one that was rhinical. We can have the following. Now, you can see how a nerve cell is well equipped to perform its function. Look the dendrites, the way they are. This is how a nerve cell looks like. Unlike there's a blood cell that is well equipped to transport blood to different parts, but a nerve cell is well equipped with threads to transfer the electric impulses, to carry nerve impulses from one part of the body to another. This is how a nerve cell looks like. It's very different from red blood cells. Those two cells that we have seen, we can have other example of an animal cell. We can have that example. And that example, we can have a cell, a female reproductive cell. Female reproductive cell is also called egg cell. You can put that in bracket. So how does an egg cell look like? Just looks like an egg. That's an egg cell. Then what is the function of a female reproductive cell? Female reproductive cell, the function is to join the male cell and then provide food for the new cell that is formed, to join with the male cell, and then to provide food for the new cell that is formed. So we are saying the major function of a female reproductive cell is to join with a male cell, and then after joining with the formed cell, they form a new cell. Second function is to provide food for the newly formed new cell. That is the major function of a female reproductive cell. Maybe we can also have, let us not forget this one, what a male reproductive cell. Now, with a male reproductive cell, maybe it is also called sperm cell. And for proper understanding, maybe we can say it has this shape. That one can say this is a nucleus. It has a head and some kind of tail, maybe it is there to assist it in its function. So the male reproductive cell, to reach the female cell and join with it, the function is to reach the female cell, and to join with it. So we say the function is to reach the female cell and to join with it. And when it joins with the female cell, they form another new cell. that we shall study what process continues, because that new cell can continue with cell division to the extent whereby it formulates an organism that has got many cells that has undergone through cell division. We have seen it is well equipped to perform its function because it has a head and a tail. A tail is there to ensure it swims. It swims to meet with a female reproductive cell. Now, we have only seen 4 examples of animal cells. There are many, many examples of animal cells that perform different functions. What about plant cells? Let us try to see the types of plant cell and their functions. Yes. Types of can have this side types of plant cell, then we can have their function this side. We can have a table like so, types of plant cell and the specific function. So when we come to the type of function, for instance, we can have one of the cells as root hair cell. Now, with root hair cell, it's present within the plant's roots within the earth. And the way this root hair cell is adapted in such a way that it can be able to perform its functions appropriately. Whether it's through osmosis, it can be able to absorb the nutrients that are present within the soil. Maybe we can have its structure so that we see how the root hair cell is adapted to its specific function. That is the structure of a root hair cell. If you can see, it has got this shape so that it can have a such large surface area to absorb water and minerals. Functions to absorb water, yes, to absorb water and minerals. And minerals, it has large surface area. Why does it have large surface area? So that it can be able to absorb water and other minerals that are present within the soil. That is a structure of a root hair cell. We know we have xylem cells that are responsible for transporting water within the xylem, the stem of a plant. We have the Palisade cells. These are examples, but it's better if we have a picture so that when you talk of a Palisade cell, xylem cell, we see its structure and how it looks like. We can have the second example. We can have a second example of a leaf cell. A leaf cell, and that is, we are having a structure of a leaf cell. So this is the structure of a leaf cell. In between here, we have our nucleus. Between is the cell vacuole. In between here, we have the cytoplasm. Cytoplasm, we have it here. And then this one are chloroplasts. Chloroplasts are dotted all over this area. What is its function, the leaf cells? To absorb the wave from the surface area, to absorb sunlight, to absorb the large surface areas, to absorb sunlight for photosynthesis. To absorb sunlight for photosynthesis, that's why it has the large surface area. And yes, for photosynthesis, and large surface area with lots of chloroplasts. It has large surface area with lots Why lots of chloroplast? Chloroplast so that it can be able to trap the light energy, light from the sun, and change it to energy to produce its food. So we have only given these two examples of plant cells, but we are saying there are other many more types of plant cell. We shall have more examples in our next lesson on the plant cell, but let us touch on single-celled organisms. We call them the unicellular and multicellular organism. We want to observe both. The single-celled organism, we have unicellular and multicellular organism. We want to have a general background information on unicellular and multicellular organism. On unicellular and microcellular organisms, we say plants, we have plants which are unicellular and others which are microorganisms, which are multicellular organisms. We are saying plants and animals are multicellular organisms. Plants and animals, which we have been studying their cells, we are saying plants and animals are multicellular organisms. They are made up of billions of cells and all working together to help the plant and the animal to survive. We are saying the animals and plants we have been studying, we are saying plants and animals are made up of billions of cells, and all these billions of cells are working for the survival of that particular plant and animal. Many microscopic organisms are single-celled, many microscopic organisms. With the plants and animals, you have said plants and animals are multicellular organisms. But now we are saying many microscopic organisms are single-celled or unicellular. We have said many microorganisms. Yes, we have said many microscopic organisms are unicellular or single-celled organisms. So the many organisms we observe under microscope, they are unicellular or they are single-celled organisms. Bacteria, we are told bacteria and cyanobacteria are unicellular. We are told bacteria and cyanobacteria. Yes, we are told this too. Bacteria and cyanobacteria are unicellular. They are unicellular, meaning they have a single cell. They are made up of a single cell. They are unicellular, and some of the protists are also unicellular. We have other organisms called protists. Also, protists are also unicellular. So we have the bacteria, the cyanobacteria, and protists. All these are unicellular. We are told the protista. The protista are organisms that have a nucleus and live as independent cells. The protista, the protist organism. Protista are organisms that have nucleus and live as independent cells, or they live in colonies with no differentiation into issues. There are about 85,000 different types of unicellular organisms that have been discovered so far. So we are saying different types, they have discovered close to 85,000 unicellular organisms or single cellular organisms. But those ones are the only ones they have discovered. They are yet to discover others, and it's about 1 million unicellular organisms that are yet to be discovered. So we cannot just say 85,000 are all. There are more that scientists need to work and discover more. And their guess, which is as good as mine, it is over 1 million. 1 million unicellular organisms that are yet to be discovered. Many unicellular organisms are plants-like, in that they have a cell wall. Yes, they have a cellular cell wall and make their own food. We are saying many unicellular organisms, they are plant-like. They are not plants, but they are plant-like. They have a cellulose cell wall and they can make their own food. We are also saying organisms that make their own food are described as autotrophic. We are saying organisms that make their own food are described as autotrophic. So we had said that organisms that make their own food are described as autotrophic, and organisms that rely on external food are heterotrophic. Others are animal-like. We are saying there are some also animal-like substances that are unicellular, and these animal-like substances are called heterotrophic. They obtain food from their external sources. The unicellular protists, the ones we have mentioned, unicellular protists that are heterotrophic are often about their size is 0.1 millimeters. It is 0.1 millimeters in size. They include our friend amoeba. We have the amoeba, which fall into this category of protista. They are unicellular animals. We have our amoeba. We have euglena. Euglena organisms falls into these organisms in cellular. Then we have Paramecium. We have our friend Paramecium. Yes, we have our Paramecium. They And our friend Paramecium, they live in water, most of them. Others live in moist areas. When we come in our next lesson, we shall start deeply about the amoeba, the Paramecium and Euglena, and the environment where they live well, and how they are beneficial to man, whether they are bacteria, how bacteria are beneficial to man, and how they are not beneficial to man, where they are harmful. We shall also study amoeba. Do the amoeba cause diseases to human beings or not? And we shall also study about the Paramecium, their mode of movement. How do they move from one area to another? Thank you. In our next lesson, we shall continue from there. Thank you.